So, who is JD Vance and why does it matter? Those are the opening words to my new book, JD Vance and the Future of the Republican Party. And I wanted to just talk about a couple of the reasons that I think it's important for political commentators, for people who are thinking deeply about politics and the future of America, or even just voters, to understand who JD Vance is and why he's important for the future of the Republican Party. So, for one, I'll say it's just important to know who Vance is because he is the future of the Republican Party. Or as Michael Knowles says in the foreword to my book, J.D. Vance isn't just the future of the Republican Party, he's the present of the Republican Party. If you deny that, you risk irrelevance. And that's just reality. Donald Trump chose Vance as his running mate in 2024 with no real demographic reason to do so, right? Vance is not, he's not black, he's not Latino, he's not a woman, he doesn't pick up any demographic advantage. He's not from a swing state. He's from the reliably red state now of Ohio. So the reason that he was chosen, in my mind, has to be because Trump was picking his successor. This is particularly important, not just because there's going to be another presidential election coming up in 2028, but because we're at an epochal time in the Republican Party, right? For a decade now, more than a decade, Donald Trump has been the face, the power, the force behind the realignment of the Republican Party. Whether you like that, whether you don't, that's just the reality. Trump has reshaped the party. He's been the one-man force behind that realignment, and he's dictated what the Republican Party is, what its policy priorities are, how it talks, everything. Trump has led the party. Now he's going away. He's a lame duck. This is the end of his time as the head of the Republican Party, as the head of the United States. And so a successor is coming. And the party has shifted. It's shifted on the priorities that it cares about. It's shifted in terms of who is the voting bloc that makes up the party. And so who succeeds Trump, who the next leader of the Republican Party is going to mean a lot in terms of how politics looks in the next few years, for sure, potentially in the next couple of decades. So J.D. Vance is an important figure. And then I'll also point out that he's just more interesting than most people to write a book about, for sure, but to comment on as a political commentator. When you want to know what most politicians think about issues, about policy, about political philosophy, what do you really have to go on? Campaign speeches, campaign website when they run for office. It's not much there, and it's all geared toward telling people what the candidate wants them to hear. Vance, though, has been writing, publishing, speaking for years before he ever ran for office. So if you want to know what does somebody think about the most important issues facing America, about legislative priorities, you have a lot of material to go off when you're looking at J.D. Vance. He's been writing op-eds, essays, both short and long form. He's been giving speeches. He's really articulate on a lot of areas of policy, of politics, of culture, of religion. There's really just a lot there to look at. So Vance is, like it or not, the future of the Republican Party. He is likely going to be the Republican candidate for president in 2028. And so if you're interested at all in politics, about the future of the Republican Party, about the future of the presidency, about the future of America and its government, you should know who J.D. Vance is. And so you can read his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, and you'll get his story, his background. You'll get some insights into what he thinks about America. But that book is a decade old, and it's really him just telling his early story. If you want to know more, who is he? What does he think? What has he written? What has he said? Including before he ever ran for office, my book, J.D. Vance and the Future of the Republican Party, is the next step in knowing who Vance is. And Vance is perhaps the most important figure in Republican politics for sure, but perhaps in all of politics in America today. So highly encourage you to figure out who he is, to pick up the book, to read, to learn, and to decide what you think about him.